Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have to just talk about a couple of things before we start this video. Number one, Manny in the background, snoriest dog in the world. And I've been told that really I should mention that he's in the room because for people that are just finding me, they might wonder what that noise is. There's been people looking for vibrating phones in their homes. It's just a very, very loud dog. And we had a discussion about whether or not perhaps he should go in the kitchen before I filmed this, and he was not receptive. So he's still behind me and he just really kicks it up when I start to film, so I'm sorry. Number two, I can't not acknowledge the number of you that left supportive comments, that left your own stories, just generally kind of engaged with that video that I posted last week about debt, about my new beauty budget, about my kind of feeling of my relationship with money. So many of you it kind of resonated with, so many of you felt the same way, that's how you feel about money, this is how you want to kind of move forward, you need to kind of break the cycle of constant consumerism. And the number of comments just made me realize how much we kind of need this all together. And so that is definitely going to shape the content that I'm creating in the future. We're still going to have lots of regular content, but I think I'm going to be doing more of this type of video where we encourage ourselves, each other, to remember what we've got, remember what we can do with what we've got, and possibly spend less. Bring less stuff into the house is the idea. Also, lots of you mentioning different people that do Project Pan. I think I am going to be doing Project Pan. Look out for a video about that soon. Would you believe I'm 10 years into YouTube and I have never watched a Project Pan video until this week. So it feels very overwhelming, and it's never appealed to me before because I'm not someone who likes to use things up. I'm very much a hoarder, but I'm going to try. So look out for that soon. But today's video is 4 looks with the Naked palette. I figure if you don't have this, you have an iteration of this because there have been so many neutral palettes, so many dupes of this since then. And so hopefully this will be useful for pretty much everyone that could possibly watch this video, because you probably have this, or at very least you've got a dupe or something else that's going to be super, super similar, because neutrals are like, they just became so massive. We've probably all got like 15 palettes, haven't we? It's insane. It's insane. There's going to be a video on my, not decluttering, but like assessing what I have and trying to use things up, because just the more I think about it, the more insane it is. And I don't have that much space to keep things in this house. Now, I'm not a makeup artist. I have little to no skill when it comes to eyeshadow and most makeup, which is something that's always put me off doing kind of tutorials and videos like this, where I have to be really kind of mindful of the fact that I am showing you something, because I'm not an experienced makeup person. I did work for Urban Decay while the Naked palette came out, funnily enough. It's just, every time I think about that, I think this equally is insane because I had no makeup experience whatsoever. I'd never worked on a makeup counter, and I suddenly was the manager of Urban Decay in Meadowhall. Insane. Just crazy. That is possibly a story for another time. But as a result, I have used this palette to death, and I had to use this palette for quite a while, predominantly, if not exclusively this palette, to show it off to the customers. And so I used it in lots of different ways. So I thought that this would probably be an easy one for me and a bit of a nostalgic thing too. But bear in mind as you watch my video, I'm not going to be showing you a ton of like, really, it's not going to be the same as other people's. I'm showing you how I do it. Hopefully I'm going to show you some really simple tricks that I use for like getting around stuff, because when other people do things I feel overwhelmed often. I don't think anyone's going to feel overwhelmed watching me do my eyeshadow, but I do share some things that I think will be interesting, and possibly you may learn something. And last thing, I did all of this in one day. I know people do like 5 days, 8 days, whatever, and the whole thing is you're supposed to do it over several days. It's just not going to work for me because there's nowhere in this house that I can film in a morning that's going to be quiet and have good lighting. And so I decided to do it all in one day, and I decided to just do 4 for 2 reasons. 1, my poor eyes, just the one day. I thought 4 looks was enough. And 2, it works better for a thumbnail if it's in a 4. That is the only reason. So without further ado, here's me 2 hours ago. Okay, so let's start by talking about how to prep my skin. This Prep and Perfect Daily Smoothing Tonic from Primark, I'm really enjoying. This is kind of like a glycolic toner. It says exfoliating toning, prep for makeup, AHA plus aloe vera, 3.5% glycolic acid. So I feel like it's just, you know, I don't know, but I feel like it's a more gentle version of my regular Pixie Glow Tonic for morning. And this is how I've been using it. It may be exactly the same thing, but that's how I've been using it. I would still use Pixie Glow Tonic in the morning though. I quite like
The scent of it, everything about it feels kind of fresh. But all of that could be marketing, and it's just made me think that. And the other thing I've got on is the Pixie Rose Flash Balm, which is an instant skin booster. This is very like it was gifted, by the way. It's very like the Flash Balm from Clarins, if you ever used that. It's just kind of perks you up. Again, a very fresh feeling. And that is everything I've got on my skin right now. Usually I would have an SPF because I've been trying to be good with this, or another kind of moisturizer, but I've been breaking out all over the place. I don't know if you can see, well, you definitely can. Just little kind of bits here and there. On my forehead, I've had tons of tiny little threats of breakouts. I've got, I think a blackhead here, something around my nose, and I am trying to figure out what is causing the breakout. So I'm kind of paring everything down skincare wise. The foundation I'm currently using is the Tarte Shape Tape. I bought this a couple of years ago, truth be told. I don't think it was last summer, I think it was the summer before. So this is on my list to use up. I actually really liked this. I think I bought it 2 years ago, but I only opened it last year. I've got it in Fair Light Neutral, and it is kind of a little bit paler than most of my foundations. And so I'm trying to use it while I'm still kind of winter. Unlike the concealer that everyone absolutely raved about, because I'm not a fan. I think I ended up buying some stuff from Tarte because I wanted to try that specifically. But occasionally they'll do this thing where it's like £40 or something for basically a makeup bag's worth of items. So you'll get, I think that's foundation was part of it, because I don't think I was super interested in the foundation aside from that, or like before I went online. You got a lip thing, maybe a mascara, a couple of different things, and a makeup bag, and I think it was in the region of £40, which seemed like a really good deal at the time. As it happens, I've hardly used any of the products, and I didn't open the foundation for like a year, so. And then on top of that, I bought the thing that I actually went on the site for, totally separate to the deal, which was the Shape Tape Concealer, and I'm just not a fan. It's too heavy for me, and you know, I might be alone in that, but I like something a little bit lighter. Now this, dependent on how, I could put quite a lot on today, but depending on how much you put on, can be very, very light. It's not as dry, it's not as heavy feeling. I think it is a little bit more hydrating, and it's just a different animal. I don't think the two products go together in the range. The concealer I've got is this. It's the Milk Makeup Flex Concealer, and the colour that I've got is Cream, or Creme, C-R-E-M-E. I don't know about this one either. I think this is a little bit much. Given that it's called Flex, you could be forgiven for thinking that it was going to be, again, a little bit lighter. It sounds, to me, Flex sounds like, you know, flexible. It sounds, I think that it's supposed to be like that, and I just don't find that it is. I think that it's a little bit cakey on me. You know, it's not the worst in the world, but given that it's a higher price point than I usually pay for concealer. Again, I think this is part of the problem that I had with the Shape Tape. I wanted it to change my life and it didn't. I've been disappointed, but I've not used it that much. It's still quite new to me. Also, I bought it in cream because I wanted to be able to use it elsewhere on my face. It's kind of a little bit yellowy, a little bit, possibly a little bit darker than I usually would wear underneath my eyes. But because I'm so picky about what concealer I wear underneath my eyes, I wanted to get something that I could use elsewhere on my face if I didn't love it. And actually, on my face, I don't massively dislike it. But like I say, I'm quite picky when it comes to, there's just so much out there. And once you find something that works, that you don't feel settled, and even that foundation, I feel like I now can see every little bit of texture in my skin. And as I get a little bit older, I just feel like I want less and less of that. Right, to the eyes. I'm using the NYX Proof It Waterproof Eyeshadow Primer. If you've never used this before, it's pretty hardcore in that it really, I mean, you can see the creasing already. You can put this on and it really will not budge. Not a little tiny bit. The other issue with that, of course, is that it's a little bit more difficult to blend straight on top of this, and so I tend to set this with some kind of powder. One thing to note is not to use, because you can use like a face powder, whatever, just something that's light, but don't use anything that is like an HD face powder, because nothing will go on top of it. Anything that's like HD and blurring kind of almost creates not a waterproof layer, but kind of like a layer between, I think I need more of this, between your lid. It doesn't create a layer, it creates basically like a barrier, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not good at multitasking today. And so if you have seen videos, I first found out about this thanks to IGTV. Honest to God, I had no idea. No one had ever mentioned this in a video I'd seen. But they put like a thing down their arm of the HD powder, and then they did swatches across it, and it was basically like resistant. And so if you put on your powder and it's an HD powder, and then you do your blush, or then you do your eyeshadow, or whatever it might be, it's pointless because it's not going to stay, or it's possibly just not going to go onto your face to begin with. It's crazy. So yeah, just a note in case you didn't know, because I didn't. And we're into the palette. I actually can't believe I haven't hit pan on any of these because it was so well used. So as my kind of all over colour, I'm going to use Naked, this colour here, just a dusting of it, because I do find that that is just a very, very difficult primer to go straight on top of. You know, if you were going to go kind of really, really bold, like if I was going to use a very, very bright colour or something like that, then I might pick my placement a little bit more. Like I would be, I'd like dust in my crease perhaps, and then I would leave this because then it would really adhere and it would be super, super pow. But for day-to-day makeup, it's just difficult to blend over. So I'm going to start off with Book. I'm going to do a look that I used to do all the time. And this I'm going to go straight into my crease with. Again, I have absolutely no skill when it comes to makeup whatsoever. So all of these videos will be very much, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Another thing is I have hooded eyes, and one is more hooded than the other. I don't know what it is. So I can move this eyebrow. I can happily like move this eyebrow independently. I can't do that with this one, but if you just look at my eyebrows, I can't. This has got a life of its own. I'm trying to relax my eyebrows and this one goes like, meh, meh, meh. Have you ever seen Just Go With It? Because Rachel Dratch is on that as someone who's got an eyebrow. She's had like a brow lift or something, and the eyebrow keeps like going up and up and up. And I feel like that's the eyebrow. This eyebrow just wants to be off on its own. So this one is off. I'm not moving. This one is off doing its own thing, lifted, and this one is not. And so I find that it's difficult to get an even crease. So when I am applying my eyeshadow, I look directly into the mirror, like as relaxed eyes as I can get. Woo-hoo-hoo. And I kind of go like this. I'll like slightly shadow the part of the crease that you can see, and I go off that rather than as I'm doing my eyeshadow like this, because then when I relax my eyes, they don't match. Now I'm going to use, I'm actually gonna do something slightly different. I'm gonna use Smog, my all-time favorite eyeshadow color. I have this in a single. Love, 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 love Smog. It is 100% my all-time favorite. And I'm gonna take this on the outer, I want to say the outer corner, but here's the thing. When you watch people do their makeup and they say the outer corner, that looks so different for different people. Again, because my eyes are hooded, and they're just kind of a different shape. Some people's eyes are like really, really, wow, really wide, pointed up and like open. My eyes are not like that. So I'm just going to say, it is the outer corner, but your outer corner might be up here. It might be down here. It is just the last little quarter of my eyelid. Then I'm going to use Half Baked, which is this gorgeous golden colour, and kind of continue on from Smog, maybe to like halfway. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to use, really torn, but I think I'm going to use Virgin, which is this, it's just kind of a slight satiny something, not a lot of shimmer to it, but it's not completely matte. On the other half, the inner half. If you think you can't blend, this is good, because it's basically you're doing it, it's like paint by numbers. It's you kind of blending as you go. So we've just gone a crease, darker to lighter, and we've put it on in those sections. It's going to require very little blending from this point onwards. I'm just using a clean brush, And I'm just going to, first of all, blend this up to my, not up to my brow bone, but this part. Just kind of blend it so there's no harsh lines. Again, if I had a palette that had, for example, like Naked is too dark, really, but something like a matte version of this, then I might do like Urban Decay used to do a shade called ABC Gum. I don't know why. There are so many shade names that I never really understood until much later. Lots of drug-related names. And I was just very naive. An ABC Gum. I don't know. Can anyone tell me why it was called that? What is that a reference to? And then I'm going to just a little bit blend the little sections on my lid. And I might just go back in and add a little bit more of the smog. Ooh, what's that? I'm going to do this with a pencil brush. So I've got a little bit more control. And I'm going to do a little bit more of the smog on the outer corner. And I'm then going to take that underneath my eye. I mean, just smog on its own is my absolute favourite. Smog all over and then just a little bit under the eye. Love it. You see, this is creasing. This concealer is not my favourite. So this is the final eye look. I just put on my favourite Lash Sensational mascara. No lashes, none of that. And I love it. This is something that I could wear kind of day to day. Obviously, you'd speed it up. I wouldn't take this long. But like for work or whatever, it could kind of work both ways. You could also deepen it up a little bit. If I was to be wearing this for work, wherever with the palette, then I could definitely go back in and kind of like zhuzh it up with some of the much darker colours in the crease, or even like just slightly on the outer corner as well. I might go back in with like Sin, which is a little bit more frosty, and redo this section here. It's kind of something that you could, you know, deepen if you wanted to do this for an evening look, but I think this works as is. Right, for the next look, I'm going to use the Revlon Colour Stay Eyeshadow Primer because I really feel like I'm running out of the NYX one. This one is not my favourite, truth be told. This is a very different kind of texture. I mean, the NYX one would be almost impossible to show you because it's just clear. This one, it kind of looks like it's going to be like the Urban Decay Primer Potion, but it's not. When you put it on, it's got like a silicone-y texture to it. And so immediately it's got that slip, that feel that it's not going to set. I don't understand it because that's the whole point for me. It might make the eyeshadow look nicer and it provides a nice kind of smooth base, but I don't understand this from a perspective of longevity because it doesn't work. So for the purposes of what we're doing right now, I'm going to be kind of showing you what the eyeshadows look like, etc. Then it's fine. And maybe if you have very dry eyelids, this could work. I'd love to know, like to hear from those of you who this works for, because for me, I just don't think that it's got it. Right, so for this next one, I think I'm going to go deeper. And again, because I want this to be as simple as possible for everyone, including me, I'm going to do it probably in a strange order. But I'm going to use Hustle, which is this kind of like, it's a very warm deep brown. And I'm going to use an eyeliner brush, one of these little really thin eyeliner brushes. And I'm kind of going to do my liner before we even start. And the reason for this is it kind of creates like a framework for like where I want everything to be. Now again, because of the hooded eyes, have to be kind of mindful. I've found ways of making this work. But if I do this, it kind of disappears. So this is part of the reason that I do this, because if I start with the shadow and then I start like making it big and making it, it never looks right on me. So I start with kind of this part for that reason. The idea is to follow through. If you see the line, not the line, well, yeah, I suppose the lower lash line here. If you follow that line, I've gone a little bit further out. If you follow it like as if you were going in a line from there, that is usually the right line for you. Now, because of the hooded eyes, and I'm constantly checking what it looks like, I don't really want to go beyond this. So already I've gone a little bit further, but if I go beyond that, then it starts looking a little bit crazy. So this is kind of my framework. Also makes it easier if you are not very good at eyeliner. I mean, powder liner to begin with, yes. But if you're not very good at eyeliner, then it makes it kind of easier to do this first, kind of map it out. Because worst case scenario, if you make a big mistake, then you can just wipe it off and start again. And you're not it's not the finishing step. So I'm just bringing it into kind of I'd say the outer third. And again, because we're doing this before everything else, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. I'm just kind of deepening the lash line of that outer third. Okay, now we're going to get into the eyeshadow. I'm going to use Toasted. I think it's going to be the majority of what we're going to use of these. And then maybe Sin. I'm thinking Sin. So I'm going to do this on all but the very corner. Like, this is going to go pretty much all over my lid. The purpose that this outer line now is serving is kind of like an end point for me. Someone's walking past my house with a dog. I often think, like, what do they think? I don't know. Maybe this is normal now. Now I'm going back with that teeny tiny brush and Hustle again. And I'm going to just go back over and bring it a little bit further up. Kind of joining that outer wing that I created, that line. Or rather, I'm joining that outer line into the lash line to create kind of shadow wing. We're going to ignore all of the fallout underneath my eyes because we can sort that out later. I'm going to go in with Sin, which, just to remind you, is this colour here, that very frosty kind of pink. I actually used to use Sin as a highlight as well, like on my cheeks. Very sparkly highlight. This was in the beginning of highlights. Urban Decay used to do a fantastic one. These little pot ones with, I want to say there were skulls on the outside. They're amazing. That was so weird. That was like a weird internal noise that came out of my mouth. So I'm just going to put it on the inner corners. I'm not going to do anything under my eyes this time because I'm going to do liner. Right, and again, I'm going to, what do I use? I actually think I'm going to use Naked this time, this one here. And I'm going to use it on this big fluffy brush. I'll talk about brushes at the end. And I'm going to use it to blend between that pinky toasted colour and my bare brow bone. I think this is what people call a transitional colour. I'm getting further and further away from the camera because my knees hurt. I'm sitting cross-legged and apparently 34 is the year that my knees are actually going to completely give out. Right, so I've spritzed my little tiny brush with some setting spray. Not a fan of this. It is the Wet n Wild Natural Finish setting spray. Let me just show you, see if you can see. Come on now, focus on this, not on my face. Number one, it sprays down. Oh, also, it takes a minute for it to come back up again. Oh, can you see that? It sprays down and in a real jet. It's not great. So I use it just for things like this, like when I want to dampen my beauty blender, for example, or when I want to wet a brush. So I'm going to now use, am I going to use Hustle or I'm going to use Creep? I think I'm going to use Hustle again. So again, that really deep, warm colour that we've been using on that wing. And I'm just going to go back and make it more defined. This is a really, I mean, obviously we've done a lot of eyeshadow here, but this is a really easy way to do liner. If you are nervous of it, you think you're not very good, powder liner is the future. It's very flattering, very difficult to get wrong. And if you've done like a bigger eyeshadow look like this, and you've set out those lines to begin with, then it makes it even easier because you're basically just following those lines that you made earlier. Again, I've just put on my Maybelline mascara, favourite, but this is the look. I think it makes, I mean, for me especially, it really kind of opens up my eyes when I do a little bit of a wing, but if I don't want to do a full liquid liner wing, this is really nice. I tend to do this with other colorways. As with the last one, you can kind of use this particular technique with different colors. What I would do quite frequently would be Naked all over the lid and then Book in the crease. And then I would use one of the deeper ones as kind of just like a smudged out winged liner, just for day to day, really simple and quick. But this is something that I do all of the time. Even if I'm not doing any other eye makeup, I might just do a little bit of powder winged liner, and it really makes such a massive difference to the shape of my eyes. Okay, for the next look, we're gonna go gold. I used to be obsessed with this because it's just like so high impact. So we're going half baked, the gold that I showed you earlier. This, you know what I'm talking about, the one right in the middle. And I'm just going to use this all over my lid. The dog is snoring so loudly. I'm going to then use Smog, favourite Smog, the beautiful bronzy Smog that is right next to it. And I'm just going to kind of add a little bit of definition to the outer corner and my crease slightly, just a little bit, just there. It's almost like a column on the end that I'm putting here. Then I'm going to take Smog again and go underneath. Oh, it was all over the shop then. I don't know what was going on with the light. I'm going to go underneath, again, just the tiniest bit on the outer corner, and then we're going to bring it in further with half baked again. I don't know what it is, but when I'm filming, Manny really kicks it up snoring wise. I'm then going to use this big fluffy brush again, and I'm not going to use anything. I'm just going to use it clean. I have been using, in between these looks, my makeup switch, which I wasn't 100% sure about until right now. I think it is pretty darn good. I got it in my FabFitFun box, which, by the way, I will leave a link below because it's one of those, you know, one for me, one for you. You get a deal and I get a deal if you use my code. It's this, it's a colour switch. So it's a dry thing where when you've used your brush, you do this, and it takes off the colour. I don't know how it works. It's not something that usually comes up for me because I do a lot of the same stuff, which is part of the reason we're doing this series, but seems to be working pretty well today. And that is the entire look. I used to wear this so often. It's just like, I think if you are looking for something really, really simple, but like I say, high impact for like a night out, this is beautiful. I love the gold. It's so flattering on so many different people. And just a little bit of something on that outer corner with Smog. It's not a million miles away from it. It doesn't deepen it up tons, but it just adds some dimension. And it's super duper simple. Right, for those of you that are looking for something like much more dramatic, something kind of smokier, we're going to do something similar again with the kind of framework that I showed you before. I'm going to go into Creep, which is the kind of sparkly black. That's the one thing this is missing, is like a matte black, but this sparkly black here I'm going to use, and again kind of draw out. I'm going to do this a little bit more, generally a little bit more, and again checking and checking. We'll see how this goes. I really do feel like this side of my face is harder to do, and I'm like directly in front of the windows. There's no good reason, like I should have exactly the same light. I think it's something to do with my range of motion as well. I just started doing yoga again, and it's making a massive difference, but I am horrible. Like, my joints are all so bad. I feel like I'm doing like a Maleficent situation right now. So I've basically just drawn on really exaggerated winged liner. And now, in the interest of trying to use as many colours as possible, I think we're going to use Sidecar. Sidecar is probably one of my least used colours. You can see in the pan, like I've barely touched it. And that's because it's so glittery. And I had a real problem with fallout. If you followed me over Christmas time, you will have heard me complain about this. I have a hard time with products that 100% are going to end up all over my face. I put them on my eyes. I want them to stay on my eyes. And so anything that had like any glitter in it, like Space Cowboy from Urban Decay used to be like my nemesis. I'm going to use Gunmetal, this one here, and I'm going to kind of draw into the crease a little bit. I just wasn't sure about how dark it was going to be. Kind of draw into the crease a little bit. It's not a million miles away from Creep, but it is a little bit softer, and I'm going to kind of blend that down. I don't want to lose my wing completely. I don't want it to kind of become nothingness in this, but it's difficult to maintain like a point of difference sometimes, so I'm just trying to be gentle. Again, always remembering as I go to relax my brows just to see how it's actually going to look once I'm done. I'm almost joining this gunmetal colour in to the wing, almost, but not quite. And now I'm going to use, what am I going to use? I think I'm going to use Virgin again, right in the centre of my eyes, because I want to kind of keep that middle section. This is really nice for, like, if you've got smaller eyes, making them look larger. Kind of keep, same with your lips, anything where it kind of accentuates the centre with a paler colour. Just gonna put that in the middle. Again, I'm kind of blending as I go. I really do have a hard time with, when I watch people and they put everything on and they're like, blending, 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 I just think, oh, it's gonna end up like a muddy mess on me. And so when I put the things on, I'm kind of just working them into the colours next to each other instead. I am going to use this big fluffy brush again, just to kind of clean up here, but not tons, and then also to kind of blend that, was it Sidecar? It was Sidecar, and the Virgin colour a little bit. I'm then going to go back in and, which colour did I use this one? Go back into Gunmetal, that grey colour, and just redefine that crease a little bit more, because I think I lost it a little bit when I put the paler shade in the centre of my eyes. And again, with the wing, with Creep, I'm just gonna go back over. Now, this is when you could, if you wanted to, put on a liquid or a gel liner just to really emphasise this wing, or wet your brush or whatever. But I'm not going to. I like the soft, almost black shadow wing. And that is something a little bit more dramatic for those of you who were looking for it. Again, as for the other things, you could swap the colours that you use. You could go with kind of a like brown version of this. You could put the gold in the middle. That would be so pretty. You could go for something less of a contrast, so something dark still, but you could go with more of a like a smog in the middle, whatever you were looking for. These are just kind of ideas, but this is my final naked palette look. I promised we'd talk about brushes, so here we are. I'm just going to run you through the brushes that I've got in my brush pot right now. In fact, they are basically duplicates. I've actually just ordered, and this doesn't count for like my spending budget because I had a voucher. I had this voucher. Has anyone ever given you one of these vouchers? Because they are very difficult to spend online. A love to shop voucher. And I wanted to spend it at Boots. Can't do that. I had to do it in store, but I wanted to spend it on things they didn't have in store, so that was annoying. So instead, I exchanged it for a small fee to an Amazon voucher, and I purchased a new brush set that was $5.99. We're going to talk about that. I've got a new palette, I think it was £10, but it looks very similar to the Lorac Pro, so that's what I got that for. A foundation from Revlon that I want to test out, and something else, and I can't remember what that something else was, but you will find out. But it was weird because I've never noticed before that Revlon products, it seems to be from Revlon, like from the brand Revlon, they are selling their products for cheaper online at Amazon. Because I know sometimes people are worried about, like, is this a proper thing? Is this going to be dangerous to use? It seems to be coming from Revlon, but it's cheaper, so that's strange. But hey ho. So I've got some new brushes coming, eye brushes specifically, because I'm going to be filming this kind of video. I think the more eye brushes, the better, because it just is a bit more interesting to use different shapes and find out, like I'm learning the same as you are, and find out kind of what does what and what's easy to use. But the ones I'm using right now, I have this teeny little one. I don't know what it's called. It might just be called the eyeshadow brush. It's all gone, all of the information from it. But this is from Real Techniques. It's just like a really dense little eyeshadow brush. I use this often on the outer corners to kind of really pack in a deeper colour. I have this brush that I've had for a million years, Sigma Taper Blending E40. You can get so many brushes that are almost identical to this now. I mean, Morphe is readily available. Just a big fluffy brush, and I would use that kind of here. I don't even know if I used it in this video, to be fair, but I would. Oh, I think I dusted a colour over my eyes initially with it, but that was it. Once upon a time, this was a blending brush, and I was like, why does everything look so bad? Because it's too blendy, it's too... This is for like a wash of something. It's not for blending like a very, very dark colour with a very, very light colour. If I put this on my eyes, it's just going to end up with a complete mess, which is why I prefer now a more dense brush. So I've got this one, which is, to be fair, not all that much more. I mean, it is considerably more dense, to be fair. It is.
Like this is like just super fluffy, and this has just got a lot more packed in there. Sorry, it was focused on my face. So this kind of brush is what I prefer. I'd like one a little bit smaller, I think, for like a little bit more control. But this one is from AUDIBLE, and this is another Amazon set that I bought. It had a couple of brushes in there that were really good, and I think that was only about £5 or £6. But again, it came as a set, and they were really, really good brushes. I'll try to remember to link them below. I have a couple of naked palette brushes in here, funnily enough. Oh, this is from the Lacura dupe. Okay, I didn't even know that. I don't think I used this one actually, so I'm just going to put that to one side. This one is from the Naked Cherry. This is a brush I use all the time. Again, it's a similar idea to this, but it's shorter, it's a little bit more dense. Again, it gives me a little bit more control. I use this a lot for a crease colour. And on the other side, we have this little bad boy, which is really nice for just a little bit of something underneath my eyes. I also use this in the same way that I would use a pencil brush. The difference between these two being this is shorter and more dense. So the one on this side, the cherry one, that one I pretty much would only use underneath my eyes. This one I use in the same way. You really don't need both. The difference being that I also could use this one, which is the Sigma Pencil E30. I would also use this one in my crease because it has got a little bit more length to it, and so it kind of, it's not, you can use it underneath your eye, but it also works up here and it's got a little bit more flexibility to it. Horrible description. This is from B at Superdrug, and this is an eyeshadow brush. I use this for very specific placement. So if I'm using a glitter eyeshadow, or if I'm using something in a specific area, I might use this here because it's got a nice, like, slightly pointed shape to it. So I like that for the inner corner of my eyes. Or I think on this look, I used it just to put the shadow in the middle. And then the last one I've got is the Sedona Lace 772. Again, none of these things matter. They're all going to be available in some other form from another brand. This is just what I've got around. And this is just the little eyeliner brush. This is one of the brushes that I use the most. Not specifically this one. I've got loads of them knocking around. You can get them from all kinds of different brands for different price points. They're all pretty much the same thing. You can wet them and you can do a proper eyeliner. You can use them dry and you can use them a little bit softer. I love it so much. And if you are into the pencil eyeliner idea, that is essential. So that is it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I know it's probably super long, but since I've discovered this whole community of using things up, I've discovered that one of the trademarks of it is people are making long videos. And if you've been watching me for a long time, you will know I've been fighting this in myself for years. I am naturally just a rambler. I talk and talk and talk, and I like long videos. I like to watch long videos. And I like to make long videos, and for a long time they were out of fashion. People wanted snappy 5 to 10 minutes, and that just wasn't me. I'm more of a talker. And so another thing that I feel like I'm finding an affinity with this community that I didn't even know existed is this chatty element. So expect more long videos from me. But yeah, hopefully that was useful. Let me know if there's a specific palette that you would like me to do this with in the future. I already have a list of like some more affordable ones that I'm going to do, but if there's something, especially like a naked palette, like one you think lots of people will have, let me know, because I think it's a fun idea. And otherwise, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!